there. I thought I'd play a solo game of a rule set I've been playing around with, something I called Somebody Blundered, kind of based in that sort of Crimean world, and the idea that soldiers will follow orders, but the question is, will those orders come through in time, at the right time, or at all? Now, I gotta be honest with you, I saw there's actually a computer game that's come out called, I think it was Fire and Maneuver. So it's kind of the same sort of thing. They got ahead of me. I didn't know about this game until until after I had developed my little game. But basically, it seems like a similar thing, only a tabletop version of it. So anyway, they picked me to it. So I don't know. I chucked my rule set, what I have, put it all together, and threw it up onto wargamevault.com for free. Anyone wants to have a look at it. But basically, the way the game works is these soldiers will move around. They will follow orders as given. The order in which orders are given will be determined by a draw deck. Basically, I will put like an order onto the 3 value. The other player will put an order onto the 6 value. And then we flip them all over. And as we draw them out, that's what unit will move. They are specific units that will move. They will follow specific orders, and they must follow those orders as best they can with line of sight on targets. Like I said, the inspiration for this game was the Crimean War, and of course the most famous poem to come from that conflict, The Charge of the Light Brigade. So I thought that's what this little scenario would be, the Charge of the Light Brigade. Basically, we're going to have the Russians invading a European space. Okay, the white team will be invading 2 valleys, and the red team will be defending and trying to keep hold of their artillery pieces. And the British, the red team, they will be trying to defend those pieces, but will also have, kind of like a ticking clock, a light brigade who will receive orders to take the wrong guns, deliberately take the wrong guns. Basically, the British will need to defend their cannons as best they can, while the light brigade try not to destroy themselves as they get the cannons. Basically, they got to defend those cannons as long as these cavalry guys can hold out. Meanwhile, the whites just need to push hard and push aggressive to take their position. Look, I'll show you what the battlefield looks like, and we will just simply get this game underway. So here are our hills and ridgelines outside of the city of Balaclava. That ridgeline of trees will completely block line of sight, so each valley, the North Valley and the South Valley, will be unique and individual. Now, as you can see, there are cannons set up throughout the valley, red cannons. The white crew, a bunch of infantry and some cavalry, will need to push forward and capture each of these cannons. Note they're facing backwards because they are not yet prepared. They will not be able to fire or retaliate until they are prepared to do so. The British at the other end will need to defend these cannon. Meanwhile, the Light Brigade, the 1st Cavalry, will be at the other end of the North Valley, staring right down at the cannons at the other end. They're not going to attack each other until turn 2 and until they get the orders to seize the cannons. At that point, they'll barrel straight along this valley. They will suffer pot shots. All of the Russian cannons are prepared. They will fire defensive shots. So in order to achieve its objective, the Light Brigade will take fire. All right, so the first round. In the end, it was the red that got the first orders. They moved forward to defend a cannon. Next, the whites moved up and they began to fire upon an unprepared British or red infantry, unloading all 3 casualties on that unit. Soon afterwards, a brigade of infantry managed to move forward and take hold of the 1st British cannons. So the British already creeping up the valley quickly. Made quicker by the 1st Cavalry roaring up the valley, going past their infantry soldiers. These infantry are not prepared, and because they have more casualties than the cavalry, they will draw a span away from the cavalry. The cavalry will take that position, forcing the infantry back and away, obviously, from the cannons that they were hoping to defend a bit earlier. Meanwhile, orders started coming through to the British cannons to start preparing, and on the hill right at the back, cannon number 3, I believe, begins to pivot around, ready to fire on the enemy. In the end, the 2nd cannon is taken by the white infantry. Very much gains coming into their favor at the start of this match. Meanwhile, the red infantry move up and they manage to start defending the third cannon on the hill. Sorry, it was the fourth cannon that was prepared before. The third cannon on the hill is receiving some reinforcements. So that's how the first round ends, with the Russians moving up, but the Reds not too far behind, holding the red hill. Meanwhile, the light cavalry, they will now receive an order into the mix. 5 cards were drawn in the first round, only 8 will be drawn in the next. So they will be told to charge the guns, but of course, which guns? In the second round, the white infantry move up, I believe that's the second, and they will start firing on the cannon and the infantry on the hill. They choose to fire on the infantry because the cannon, once prepared, can fire defensively. So the white side is unleashing all of its attack on its on the defending infantry, not the cannon itself, which is a clever move. And because the infantry are defending the cannon, they themselves cannot defend themselves. But because the cannon's prepared, if any soldiers move past in line of sight, one casualty will be inflicted on any unit that tries to move past. Of course, the infantry do receive an order to now fire on the cavalry, which is unleashing chaos. A further infantry unit, I believe it's the second, also moves up and fires on the cavalry. The white cavalry beginning to suffer some major casualties. But they are nonetheless still supported by their own infantry. Under fire, they move forwards and fire upon the remaining defending infantry. Again, they are hopeless to defend themselves, not having received orders. Now, the cavalry once again are charge forwards. They receive more orders to charge forwards, and again, because they had less casualties, than the red infantry they were attacking, they were able to move forwards, pushing the infantry back and occupying the space that they once held. Meanwhile, in the North Valley, with the artillery becoming impatient, they receive just one order to fire a targeted shot on the light infantry they see down the end of the valley. They deliver 3 casualties to the light infantry, but it also unreadies them. They now need 2 ready actions before they'll be able to fire again, which is an opportunity for the light brigade possibly. Their orders have not come through. But at the end of that round, the South Valley is now choked with action, with that hill being the center of attention. Meanwhile, in the North Valley, like I said, the Light Brigade have not yet charged. In the third round, with only 8 cards being drawn this round, the cavalry once again push forwards, just aggressively moving forward and forward. But because they have now less, they've taken more casualties than the infantry will not budge. But also because the cavalry do not have enough soldiers to actually inflict casualties anymore. They've got 8 casualties now. They'd have to withdraw without inflicting any damage. Meanwhile, the infantry just make that slow push forward like the blob, firing and firing on all the red infantry that is defending their cannon positions. Meanwhile, the infantry, not liking that white cavalry attack, fire back. But then that's nothing compared to the order coming through to the red light horse. Was there a man dismayed? Not though the soldiers knew someone had blundered. Theirs was not to make reply, theirs was not to reason why, theirs was but to do and die, and into the valley of death would ride our little 600. With cannons to the right, cannons to the left, cannons in front, volley and thunder, stormed with shot and shell. But these guys will get an opportunity in the jaws of death. Because one of the cannons fired previously, it will not be able to repulse the cavalry as they make their charge. So even though they've now received 6 casualties, they're actually able to move into that one little artillery piece that had fired and inflict their damage. Artilleries cannot go into melee. So just like that, amazingly, against all odds, the light horse have indeed taken one of the white cannons at the end of the valley. And back in the South Valley, it seems that the red fortune may be shifting, who knows, as the red infantry move forward and fire back at that ever-encroaching white infantry. The first white infantry start to take some casualties from the red, but they of course will not take that lying down. They move into position and they manage to they continue to unleash on the defenses on the hill near the 3rd battery. The 3rd battery responds with defensive shot, and but that does not seem to be enough. That doesn't seem to deter the white infantry as they all continue to push, surround in their attempt to take the 3rd battery hill. Of course, things really aren't looking good. In this game, there is a mechanic that forces units to break if they take too many casualties. Basically, the last card that came up for that side, any unit that has not got a, say, 9 or over, they will flee. One unit does indeed break. It moves halfway down the field. If it doesn't get an order next time, it will completely run. Things look very shaky in the Southern Valley for the red side. They are hoping that maybe the light horse in the north can rally and get some more points by taking more cannons to the north, but it's really not looking good. In this next round, only 6 order cards will be given, and one of those is the white infantry actually attacking the red artillery battery on the 3rd hill. They move forwards, but they are going to take a hiding. They will be forced to stop in place as the artillery offer defensive fire, but it is now unprimed and exposed to being taken. Meanwhile, the white infantry on the left flank are forming a defensive position. If they are attacked, they will respond. And who should attack but the returning infantry? They go to attack the white infantry, but they are able to then inflict their damage on the reds who are coming forward to try and salvage this battle, but it's certainly not going well. They no longer have enough units to fight back. In a similar position, though, is the white cavalry. So they're going to form a defensive position as well, hoping not to break in the course of this fighting. And just behind them, that will allow the infantry to move forward and, of course, take the battery, the 3rd battery on the hill. Fighting on the left flank continues to be savage, but at the end of this round, the battery on the hill, the 3rd battery on the hill, is indeed taken, and it seems that most of the red units are shaking and basically beginning to come into flight. We are reaching the end game, only 6 order cards being given. The 4th battery prepares itself to fire, at least it's going to try to. Meanwhile, in the Northern Valley, the white cannons also begin to fire onto the light horse, making them hopefully completely inoperable. On the south, on the left flank, the reds just continue to try to hold out against the oncoming onslaught, but it is a noble and valiant cause which is looking increasingly futile. The white continue to push forward, slowly grinding the red into oblivion. And at this point, the assault on the final hill begins. The red battery, the final battery, the 4th battery, offers some defensive fire. However, it does seem a little too late. And indeed, the white side, the bad guys, I don't know, they have managed to push right back into the back of the valley. The red troops are completely breaking and scattering everywhere. It was a 6 card that was drawn, so pretty much every red unit is in that position, and so they all just flee in every direction to get away from what is an unstoppable force. Well, the red can't just give up, they will keep fighting, but only 4 order cards will be drawn in this round. One order being for the artillery to fire on a white infantry unit, but unfortunately they are not prepared. They cannot offer that counterattack. However, the red infantry, they are called back from their retreat. They will fight on a little bit longer, but the only place that red can hold their heads high is on that left flank. They continue to fire back on the whites. The whites are firing on them in a vicious head-to-head brawl. Valiant last stands mean nothing when the last card the Reds draw is indeed a 2. This means that all red forces with more than 2 casualties are faltering and breaking and even completely fleeing the field. Well, at this point, the field has to be conceded to the white. It's getting late and it's not looking good. It's not looking like the red can turn it around. So with that, it is a red defeat. So there you go. It turns out that the thin red line, and let's be honest, a whole bunch of Ottoman Empire soldiers did a lot better than the red team did tonight. In the end, the white side were the victorious side, managing to take a whole lot more than the red side. It wasn't even close. The number of units that routed on the red side was about 3. And the number of soldiers, units that broke was also pretty high. But more importantly, the white side was able to take 4 cannons. It didn't matter. The red team only managed to take 1 cannon in the end. So well and truly a red defeat and a white victory. Anyway, it was a lot of fun, and being like sort of drawn from cards means that even if you're playing solo, you don't have complete control as to what happens on the battlefield to some extent. You are issuing orders and hoping that they get pulled out, which is kind of makes it a little exciting. Anyway, like I said, I put this game up onto wargamevault.com if you'd like to have a look and a bit of a poke around. I've noticed that some people have had a look already at games like Trikolos and my Manas game. All of it's for free up there. If you want to throw a few coins my way, that's fine. But in all honesty, I am doing this for fun more than anything else. Okay, thank you so much for watching, and hopefully you will see me again in the future. Goodbye.